I desperately needed a new desk, and this $150 desk I built almost cost me $1,000. I've been using this old IKEA desk for a couple of years now. Before that, I didn't have a desk, I would just work off of a laptop on the couch. I gave up my desk in 2018 when I became a stay-at-home dad. This old IKEA desk once belonged to my daughter. When she outgrew it, I took it over. I've been planning this desk project for years. I've had many versions in my head. Several were committed to paper, or a napkin, and a few have even been 3D modeled. Ultimately, I don't believe I liked any of them. Until now. If I truly liked any of these desks I had designed previously, I would have already built it. I think I was just searching for what I wanted, or perhaps I was just stuck in that classic analysis paralysis. Either way, it's time to do something. I wanted a simple and modern desk. The design started with the wall behind me in my office. I knew I wanted the slat wall look. I also knew that if I put up the slat walls, the shelves would have to be minimal and allow for you to see that slat wall behind them. Researching that led me to these scaffolding style shelves. I had all this in my mind floating around for the last year. I told you, analysis paralysis. Then I got an offer to do 2 sponsored posts for Floor and Decor over on Instagram. When I told my wife, she exclaimed, "You mean I'm getting new floors?" Perhaps I should have approached the conversation a little differently. I'm not ready to take on a flooring project right now. I just don't have the bandwidth. As I sat at my desk trying to come up with a small project that I could produce for this offer, I remembered the butcher block tops that I saw in the store. And I had this light bulb moment. Why not make my desk from one of those butcher block tops? I could easily style it to fit my office plans. So I pitched the idea, and they accepted. Now I had 10 days to deliver 2 reels. Oh, and plan the desk build. Purchase the materials. Write a short script for each reel. Build the desk. Shoot it while I build it. Keep it interesting. Edit it. Record voiceover. And submit for approval. No pressure, right? Originally, I planned to make the whole bottom of the desk out of maple. After all, it's strong, solid, and relatively cheap. At least in my area. And it's going to be painted anyways. Top that with a rich, solid walnut slab, because I really like my furniture to have kind of this painted base and a natural top. During the planning phases though, I changed this base to pine. It's getting painted, so who cares? Other than the dimensions still being somewhat close to a 2x4, you would never know. I cleaned up all the edges and built some simple frames to make up my base. The best way I can describe this is it looks like 2 peas planking on a rectangle. The top did require some work. I'm not just bringing it in and dropping it in place. Originally, the butcher block measured 60 inches by 30 inches. It was tempting to keep it that size, and you very well could for a massive desk, but that would take up entirely too much room in my office. I cut 12 inches off of one end and 3 inches off of the long side. I've purchased these tops from places before. Sometimes the factory puts an eased edge on all the corners, so if you cut it down, you have to either match that eased edge exactly or put a new edge on the whole thing. This birch top came with a squared edge, and I added a chamfered edge all the way around. I prefer this over a rounded edge. Hashtag Team Chamfer. The top already came sanded to around 100 grit and had a nice feel to it. I like this. I'm not going for a glass finish. I like a smooth but still woody feel. Over sanding with a high gloss finish is just boring to me. It looks and feels like plastic and I don't want that. For this top, I'm bringing it up to 180 and I'll apply a matte finish. In fact, the whole thing is getting a matte finish, even the legs. After a quick staining to that preferred walnut color, I applied a few coats of my favorite finish, Total Boat's Halcyon Satin Varnish. I really like this peppercorn color I found for the base. It's black with a hint of gray, and I generally like the way it looks with a walnut finish. A little dry time and this desk is almost done. I used a couple of cross-lap joints to connect the 2 P's to the rectangle. Then I cut a couple of cross members between the 2 P's to connect them to each other and keep the whole thing equally spaced. If I was just adding a couple shelves between the 2, I could have skipped the cross members. The shelves would have done the same work. But since I'm putting in a pull-out drawer between the 2 of them, I'll add the cross members for a little extra support. I wanted a slide-out shelf so I could get my tower on and off as needed without having to drag the beast across the shelf. I had a set of these 18-inch heavy-duty slides left over from a client build, so I was lucky and used those. Remember how I said this desk almost cost me $1,000? So the day I was setting up this desk in my office, I got an email. The campaign was canceled by the client and my contract was terminated. No more sponsored posts. After a little back and forth and trying to figure out what exactly happened, my representative informed me that sometimes this just happens. The client decides to end the campaign early for whatever reason and just pulls the plug. I was devastated. Sure, I wanted a desk anyways, and this campaign was just a nice bonus, but I pushed other client work to meet this deadline, and I invested a lot of time and money that I wasn't planning to invest at this time. Then, a few minutes later, I got a new email that basically read, "If you can still meet the deadline, we might still be able to pay you." Might. Oh, I can work for might. The project build is done. I just need to edit a couple reels and hope they like it enough. How much of our lives comes down to might or hope or if? If you told me I might get this, I'd still be hopeful. So I pushed. I worked that night and the next morning to get them the 2 reels 3 days early, just so I might have a chance. What if it didn't work out? At least I finally built my desk. Yes, in full transparency, I was paid $1,000 to create 2 reels for Instagram. For some of you, that's a lot, and for others, it's not enough. That's what I was able to negotiate for myself. It's not the first time I've been paid for a reel, and I hope it's not the last time. A few days later, I got an email that my videos were approved and I could move forward with publishing. The only change was to my caption. They removed any mention of DIY, and I think I can live with that. Sure, it was a little unnerving, but in the end, I got my desk built. And it only cost me $150 in materials that I made $1,000 on. Yeah, you heard that right too. This whole desk only cost me $150 to build. $99 for this birch top. Then the pine was about another $22, $23. The paint, stain, clear coat, and drawer slides were already in my arsenal. But if I had to go out and buy them, I would not have used more than $25 worth of all of it. There would have been plenty left over, even if I bought the small cans. So that's it, $150 desk build.